What's up, True Crime World? You're here with Luminal on the Wall. I'm Bevy.
And I'm Becky. And, hello, sister.
Hey.
Hello, across from the table.
Yes, hi.
I'm reaching.
Get your hands out of here.
Jesus.
You creepy bitch.
Sorry.
Just kidding.
Little alien fingers.
Yeah, I was like, E.T., phone home. Like, get those out of here.
She did not match my energy there.
No, I didn't.
I can assure you.
I think that's what it means when you're close to giving birth. It's like, I saw this one lady who is an OBGYN, and she says she can, like, tell when people are ready to give birth because she's like, you will find me not funny. Like, your humor just goes away. You're like, I'm done with it.
Do you think your humor has, like, gone away?
Maybe to an extent. I have a little bit more annoyance than usual, yeah.
Yeah.
I am 9 days away.
9 days. Possibly by the next podcast, it will just be me.
Yeah, you guys never know, so...
Enjoy our banter while it's here.
Yeah.
So it'll just be lonely me.
It'll just be you.
Just be me.
Well, on that note, shall we start our sister chat?
Yeah, we should. You got anything specific you want to talk about, Bev?
No.
I do.
Just kidding. No, I don't. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, well, I did already tell you this story, but I thought I'd share it because I'm a good driver and this never happens to me. I got pulled over picking our brother up at the airport.
You did.
I was mortified.
Hands trembling.
Yeah.
Breath quickening.
I almost started fucking crying. I was, surely everyone knows that feeling when you get pulled over. But the problem was, I honestly was like, why am I getting pulled over right now? I was literally on top of one of those giant-ass speed bumps in the airport. Like, surely I can't do anything wrong in that moment. I wasn't speeding. I was in the lines. I didn't hit a pedestrian, you know?
What's going on?
Well, a police officer gets out of the car and says, "You Kristen?" I said, "No, I'm Becky." He said, "The registration is a little expired."
And by a little, you mean like 8 months.
8 months. Yes.
Our soon-to-be sister-in-law forgot to, like, insure her car. Or, sorry, register her car.
Yeah.
She thought she did. Bless her beautiful soul.
Mm-hmm. But she did not. And I got pulled over. And everyone, like, the airport, everyone knows it's busy. Like, people drive by and they just stare at you like, what did that idiot do? And I was like, oh, God. And so we asked for my driver's license. He comes back. He says, "I'm not going to give you a ticket today because, you know.
You're not Kristen.
You're not Kristen." And I was like, oh, my God. Like, thank you so much. Like, I was so stressed. And he's like, are you wearing contacts? And I said, uh-oh, I forgot my glasses too. I said, "Please, sir, I just have astigmatism." And he said, "Well, you were between the lines, so I'll let you go with warning." I got so lucky, and so did Kristen. However, when I drove, 30 feet, picked up Axel and Kristen, and they're like, "Oh my God, someone got arrested or pulled over down there." And I was like, "It was me." And they're like, "What are you talking about?" Like, at first, I think they thought it was like a little more, like Kristen was mortified because I got pulled over in her car.
Yeah.
And then I said, "Your registration is expired." And I just, Axel in the back seat, he's like, "Babe, did I not ask you in August?" "Did you do your registration?" She's like, "Yep."
I thought I did.
Yeah.
She's like looking through her little wallet.
Oh yeah.
God.
She was, I think, as mortified as I was, but she was calm, cool, collected. Yeah, so we dodged like a million bullets that day, and I saved them like almost $400
Hell
for
yeah.
just not owning that car. But yeah, as a friendly reminder to every single person in the world that drives, make sure your car's registered. Just go double check. Go double check you're not
Apparently, you
expired.
can just do it online, guys.
Easy
So
peasy.
they've made it pretty,
Foolproof.
yeah, streamlined, if you will.
Yeah, you shouldn't, in theory, be forgetting. It's too easy.
Exactly.
But shit does apparently happen, so just double check.
I guess I do have a little bit of something because I am painting my bathrooms. The baby is due in 9 days, and I'm like, let's take on a home project. No, just kidding.
You're not kidding.
For it. I planned to do this weeks ago, but my girlfriend, her husband, used to do professional painting by trade, and it just so happened that it kept getting pushed back a little bit because the days he had off he ended up having to work, and he's doing it as a favor to us.
Right, so you can't be like too picky.
No, it has to be on his schedule for sure. He's doing us a huge solid.
Yeah.
But it just so happened that Monday was the first day he could do it, and then because my bathroom in our main level, when we bought the place, was like bright ass orange. So it needs a primer.
Of course.
And then, of course, you have to, like, wait a while for the primer to dry before you can actually paint.
Yep.
All this stuff. So anyways, it's just been a little bit of a fiasco. And he's coming Friday.
Aw.
And it is currently Tuesday.
That's right.
So.
You better not have your baby.
Yeah. Anytime I
Friday.
have some mild cramping, I'm like, oh, dear God, baby boy, just stay in there a little bit more.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, imagine you go into labor, you'd be like, Jonathan, we left you a key under the mat. Please do the painting.
Before we get back.
48 hours. Go, go, go.
Yeah, he honestly did 2 bathrooms and a feature wall in, I think it was like 4 hours.
Damn.
I know. I was like, when me and Craig first painted our upstairs bathroom, it took us like 2 days.
I
and
remember.
we like almost had a domestic dispute. I will tell you.
You know, those are the true tests of relationships.
Like,
can you get through painting your bathroom and bedroom, or, you know, go on vacation together?
Yeah.
You know, so I think you guys on the plus side sound like you're set to have a child.
Yeah, as long as that painting gets done, bro.
You're good as gold.
But yeah, so that's kind of new, you know?
It's new. Walls are painted. Almost.
Primed
And ready to go like we are for our podcast today.
Ooh, can you give us like a little bit of a snapshot of what this case is about, Rebecca?
All right. I think I'm just going to use some words to describe.
Interesting. This is okay.
I think I work better this way.
Okay.
Mississippi.
Okay.
The Bayou.
Oh.
Gators.
Ooh.
Food. Deboning.
Oh, God.
I'm not sure if you were truly surprised or just playing off of my words, but like that was
like,
great.
That was good. I was literally like, holy shit.
Okay, that's the new way I'm going to describe these cases before we start. So with that in mind,
let's get into
it.
I feel like that was shock value there.
Yeah, this is good.
Scared me a little bit. Oh, God. All right.
Okay, Bev. On November 29th, 1974, a little boy was born in Houston, Texas. His name was Jeffrey Wolfe. His dad, Pascal Wolfe, described Jeffrey as an awesome kid, an all-American young man. He liked football, dogs, and girls.
Okay, number 1, that does sound like an all-American young man.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, why did you say football like football? Like,
I don't know. It just came out that way. You should have known that.
I did. I just had to point it out because it was funny.
I know. I tried not to laugh when I said it. So,
if this was Craig, it'd be the exact same shit, but it'd be like football, cats and girls, girl. Me.
You're right. Singular.
But I'm like, yeah, like I feel
sounds like
that
Craig, right?
Typical guy.
Yeah, right there. All Canadian he is. So we're gonna jump forward to Sunday, August 11th, 1996. Jeffrey, who was 21 by this time, all of a sudden showed up at his dad's house with a new girlfriend named Brooke Leaser. They had only been together a couple of weeks, but the romance was hot and heavy. Jeffrey told his dad that he and Brooke were going on a road trip to Moss Point, Mississippi. They'd only be gone for a few days, and then around 4 p.m., the couple hopped into Jeffrey's truck and began the long journey to Mississippi. It was about a 10-hour drive, so, long.
Okay, can I say something totally off topic?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I've had a lot of time on the TikTok.
Yes.
Since being off work.
Of course.
So anyways.
More than normal.
This lady recently moved to Canada, and she's like, something I did not expect about Canadians. She's like, if you drive somewhere and you say, about how far is this drive? She's like, they will not reply to you in miles or kilometers. They will explain distances in hours.
Hello, my name is Kristen Riguidel, and I'm a licensed insurance broker across Canada and in the United States. But I want to ask you a question. Is life super predictable? No, there's always going to be curveballs in life, but there's 2 things that I can guarantee you. 1, we're all going to have to pay taxes, and 2, we're all going to die. I know, it's morbid, right? But it's true. And that's where life insurance comes in. Life insurance is a selfless act. At the end of the day, it's meant for your loved ones in the event you were to pass away unexpectedly. And not that money can ever replace us, but I always liked the idea of leaving some money behind for my brothers, whether that be for their college education, or a down payment on a house, or even just time off of work to grieve. Because the last thing I would want for my family is to have to go to work and pay the bills while they're grieving. And so life insurance gives you the peace of mind that no matter when you pass away, your loved ones are taken care of. With flexible plans, affordable premiums, and coverage that fits your unique needs, I do the shopping around for you so that you can get the protection without the hassle, because taking care of your future doesn't have to be complicated. If you'd like to discuss options, you can send me an email at krigidel15lrxc@wfgmail.ca or give me a phone call at 403-785-7670 to learn more and get a free quote today, so you can live tomorrow with peace of mind.
Is that a Canadian thing?
I don't know. She made it seem like it was, and then you're telling me, like, so about 10 hours. It's just kind of funny. I'm like, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but you're fitting the stereotype if it is, Becky.
Wow.
So anyways,
That's hilarious, actually.
10-hour trek to Mississippi. We just
Yeah.
want to know when we'll arrive. Like,
Yeah,
right? We don't need to do no freaking math or, like, figuring out kilometers to hours and the ratio. Like,
Yeah. How long am I going to have to sit and hold my pee for?
Yeah.
How many snacks do I need to bring for 10 hours? Do I need lunch? Okay. That's what I need to know. And hours makes more sense.
Yeah.
Anyone who uses, like, miles or kilometers is, like, I feel like that's silly.
Yeah.
It's just silly. Like, okay, but, like, the question is, how long is it going to take me?
Yeah, exactly.
Why would I tell you kilometers? Oh, it's going to be 14,000 miles. Okay, but how long? Like,
Yeah.
4 days?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Good. I will plan that in my vacation. Thank you. All right. So they arrived in Mississippi in the early hours of August 12th. The two checked into a room at the King's Inn in Pascagoula, Mississippi, and they spent the night. Now, Bev, I don't know if you're wondering, but I wondered, why would they drive such a long distance for just a couple days? Were you wondering that?
No.
All right. Well, for anyone that is, it turns out Jeffrey had two friends in the area named Timothy Milano and Gary Simmons. Now, they owed Jeffrey money, and not just a little bit. It was estimated to be anywhere between $12,000 and $20,000.
Well, that sounds like a drug habit right there, don't it?
Oh, Bev, you're almost right.
Is Jeffrey a drug dealer, Becky?
Yes, he is a marijuana drug dealer.
Okay.
So he would give them the drugs to sell. They would sell it, collect the money, and give it back to Jeffrey, right?
Right.
And they had done this deal a couple times together. It wasn't the first time.
So he's there to collect.
He's there to collect. So when Jeffrey woke up the next morning, he left Brooke sleeping in their hotel room. But before getting down to business, he actually met up with another friend named Sonny Milano, Timothy's brother. Sonny worked at a tire shop, and he was helping Jeffrey pick out new tires and rims for his truck. And, they were just also catching up because, like I said, friends. Eventually, Jeffrey went back to the King's Inn to get Brooke, and they had made plans with Sonny and his fiancée to go out for dinner on a double date. After dinner, they parted ways. Jeffrey and Brooke ended up heading to Gary and Timothy's home to collect the money. But you see, when they got there, no one was home. So they killed some time, did a bit of shopping. I think it was at the local Walmart. And then after that, they went back to Gary's home, and still no one was there. So where else would they go but back to their motel? Then Jeffrey decided to call Sonny to ask if he knew where his brother Timothy was, and Gary as well. Sonny didn't know, but he said he would try and get in touch and let Jeffrey know when they were back. Eventually, Sonny called Jeffrey back with the confirmation that Timothy and Gary were home. And even though it was later in the evening, Jeffrey and Brooke decided to head over again. As they approached the house, they noticed the porch light was off. Now, okay, one thing about this that I didn't think about, Bev, I was listening to a podcast, and these girls were talking about living in the South, like Mississippi. And they said, if you're expecting someone to come over, your porch light is on. Like, it's weird if it's not. Like, it's just a common thing, I guess, in the South and in the backcountry for people to do. So it was weird that it wasn't on. And for some reason, Brooke got a really uneasy feeling about it.
Uh-oh.
But when they parked out front, they saw Gary sitting on the porch. It wasn't complete darkness, but they assumed the porch light was out and maybe, Gary just didn't want them to think he wasn't home, so he's waiting for them.
Just slightly creepy.
It sounded creepy. So even though they kind of explained it away, Brooke's gut feeling that something was off only got worse. She had a real sinking feeling about this whole interaction. Regardless, though, they had business to take care of. So they got out of the truck and approached the house. Gary, Jeffrey, and Brooke went inside. And again, despite Brooke's overwhelming sense of dread, everything seemed normal. Brooke was introduced to Gary, and they exchanged quick pleasantries. Gary offered them a joint, and the three went into the living room. That's where Brooke and Gary shared the doobie. Jeff opted out. It was around that time that Timothy showed up and joined them as well. Gary then offered everyone a beer, and they went into the kitchen to grab them. Brooke sat down at the table and started rolling another joint, and she could hear Gary and Jeffrey talking near the doorway, talking about money. Now, the problem was, Gary and Timothy didn't have the money, nor did they have any of the drugs to give back. Sounds like a classic drug
Their
dealer
own
smoke their own.
supply.
Yeah, exactly. It's what it sounds like. Then, out of nowhere, gunshots rang out, scaring the absolute hell out of Brooke. She looked up from rolling the joint to see Jeffrey fall to the floor, and Timothy was standing behind him in the doorway holding a rifle. Brooke was absolutely horrified. Her boyfriend just got shot. But before she could even try to get away, Gary charged her. He grabbed her, dragged her out of the kitchen, kicking and screaming, and threw her into a back bedroom where he forced her to lie face down on the floor. He got on top of her and he started interrogating her, asking if she or Jeffrey were law enforcement, if Jeffrey had any drugs or money on him, and who else knew they were in Mississippi. Brooke, understandably hysterical, told him she didn't know anything. She told him that her and Jeffrey had only met a few weeks earlier, and she was just kind of along for the ride. Now, when Gary was done questioning her, he tied her hands behind her back and bound them to her feet with rope. Then he locked her inside a metal box that was near his bedroom. Before shutting her in, he told her he was on a time frame and couldn't mess up. And to be honest, I personally never found out what the time frame was, unless maybe he was referring to, cleaning up this murder that just happened. I don't really know. Now, while in this metal box, Bev, Brooke managed to untie herself and began kicking the top of the box, trying to break it open. But it didn't really work. But she kept kicking until Gary eventually came back. He took her out of the box, stripped her naked, tied her up again, and locked her back inside. I do have to say, who has a giant metal box just sitting in their house? Do you have one?
No, but our mom does.
What?
In her garage. She totally does. She's 2. And before that, our uncle had them. So, I mean, listen.
It's 2 people we know that have giant metal boxes. Damn it.
Yeah.
That's a bad example. I guess, I just don't think our mom would do anything sinister like this and hold someone captive. So it just, escaped my mind.
But, I mean,
she doesn't have a lock on them. They're free to open.
Like...
Oh my God, I'm trying to explain this away. Mom, what secrets do you have?
Oh, shit. No, but I don't think the average person has large metal boxes.
No. And they were bought for a reason, not just a random metal box.
I'm just trying to... That fell flat so fast. But I would say the average person doesn't have a metal box that a person can fit inside, right?
No, they don't.
I was wondering why he strips her naked.
Power move?
Maybe, yeah. But anyway, she's back inside this metal box.
Yep, back inside. And once again, Brooke managed to get free of the ropes, but she still couldn't get the top of the box open. And after a while, Gary returned. This time, he was undressed.
Oh, God.
He made her lie face down on the bedroom floor, and apparently she was on her period, and he forced her to take out her tampon. Then he raped her.
Well, I guess that explains why he undressed her.
Yes.
He had evil intentions, Rebecca.
He sure did. Now, he told her that her life depended on how well she performed sexually.
Disgusting.
Very disgusting. And at the time, Brooke believed Gary was holding a pistol to the back of her head during the assault. When he was done, Gary asked Timothy if he wanted to turn with Brooke, but Timothy said no. That's where he draws the line with his morals, apparently. but killing is fine.
Yeah, I don't want to run a train on a girl.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Now, Gary did let Brooke go to the bathroom to clean herself up afterwards, but then he tied her up again and locked her back in the box.
I think this is very sad because
Mhm.
it's like every girl's just worst fear. Like she goes to these two guys' house with her boyfriend, and of course you feel secure in that moment. As soon as he's gone, like you have to think like, oh God, my body is now like at the helm of somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. That is very scary. I like truly
sucks, right?
Yeah, I feel so sad for anyone, male or female, that has ever had to go through that. It's not anything I'd wish on my worst enemy.
Yeah, but it's like now my body is for the public, like because I don't have this guy with me anymore. Like I just hate that.
Gary's the worst.
Yeah,
Took advantage of her being alone.
yeah, and vulnerable.
Now, one thing I do have to say about Gary is that I really just don't think he was that great at tying knots because Brooke once again managed to untie herself in that box. But before she could do anything else, Gary came back, and at that moment he was smoking a joint, offered her some, which she accepted, and after they shared the joint, he locked her back in the box. This time he gave her a blanket, and eventually she fell asleep for a bit. A little while later, Brooke woke up to the sound of a ringing phone. And what was interesting was that no one was answering it. So she thought to herself, could it be that she was alone? And that's when she made the brave decision to try to escape again. She stood up in the box and used all her strength to break the lid off. Now, it took a bit of time, but she did it. She hit it so hard that she broke the lock and the hinges right off. She waited a minute to see if anyone heard, and when it seemed clear, she slowly and very quietly climbed out of the box. She found a bag with some of her belongings in it. She half-dressed herself and then ran out of the house. She sprinted down the road to the nearest home, banging frantically on the door because she was so terrified that Gary would catch her escaping. Now, at the neighbor's house, a woman answered. Brooke quickly explained what had happened. The woman could clearly see that Brooke was in distress and agreed to call the police if Brooke waited on the front porch.
Ugh.
Which is like so scary because she's like, I'm literally down the street from my captors.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like,
oh God.
but I have to say, Bev, there is so many scams out there in the world where people pretend to be in distress and then they kill you when you let them in. So I understand why, but how scary.
Yeah.
Now, while Brooke was waiting, she saw Gary pull up to the home.
Ah!
Like, worst nightmare in that moment.
Yes.
But she took cover behind some bushes. She watched him go inside, but he wasn't in there long. He came running back out, got into his car, and peeled off. So all of a sudden, he was just gone again. When officers eventually arrived, Brooke was completely erratic, making it hard for detectives to fully understand what she was saying, but she told them as much as she could and led them back to the house where it all went down. No one was home, but the police were worried about Jeffrey's well-being, so they went inside, but there was no body. And oddly, there really wasn't much blood anywhere. The house was really messy, with a lot of stuff scattered around, but it also looked like it had been wiped down, so it was clean yet cluttered. Then the officers go into the backyard and they notice a very large junk pile. Near it they found an axe and a machete-like knife with what appeared to be blood on them. Now, Gary's property backed onto the bayou, and parked nearby in the water was a small John boat. And that's just like a really shallow motorized boat. So it can travel swiftly through the bayou. When they got closer to the boat, they saw blood and what looked to be tissue of some sort.
Ooh.
At that moment, they realized Brooke's story checked out, and they were likely dealing with a homicide. Because Brooke at that time didn't know what had happened to Jeffrey's body, just that he was shot.
I mean, she's been locked in a box all night, right?
Yeah, how was she to know?
Yeah.
So the police applied for a warrant, it got approved, and then they called in the Mississippi Crime Lab. Now, knowing Jeffrey wasn't in the house and seeing the John boat, they figured they'd be searching the bayou for his body. There was a really big concern that they might not find him, because after all, this was alligator territory, and if his body had been dumped in the water, he could have been eaten.
Especially if he was like dismembered, right?
Yeah.
Like that would be easy food
Exactly.
for the alligator.
Right? So as they began searching the bayou, they quickly started discovering human remains. And over about 200 yards, they recovered various body parts. On the first day, investigators collected 85 pounds of remains, the largest chunk being just 3 by 5 inches, so that's not very big. The next day, they found another 41 pounds, with the biggest piece measuring about 19 inches. They found all different types of tissue. They found skin, muscle, chest and abdominal tissue, his genitals,
Oh, God.
lungs, heart, intestines, liver, fingers, toes, and they all belonged to a young white male. They also found Jeffrey Wolfe's severed head floating in the water.
Holy shit.
Now, Dr. McGarry, the medical examiner assisting at the scene, was able to confirm that all the remains were Jeffrey's. He noted the body parts had been cut with precision into block-like chunks, so he was cut up to pretty small chunks, Bev.
Prior to being put in the bayou.
Exactly.
So not from the alligators, like tearing him apart. Like they dismembered him.
Yeah, with a very sharp knife, or utensil, I should say. Now, most of the bones had been cleanly separated from the tissue, so they were clean. There were several pieces that had bullet holes. One part of the chest had 5, and another one had 1. The lungs and heart had been shot, and the bullet was still lodged in the left lung. According to Dr. McGarry, those gunshot wounds were the cause of death. The dismemberment happened afterwards. Jeffrey's tattoos, fingers, and toes all had slash marks on them, likely to make his identification even harder. If those parts had been found, right? Which they had. Now, inside the house, evidence showed Jeffrey had been dismembered in the bathroom. There was a butcher knife and bolt cutters that had blood on them, and it was determined that those were the utensils used to dismember him. They also found fingernail clippings in the trash, a used condom, 2 used tampons, a Marlin Model 60 .22 caliber rifle, and 8 spent shell casings. There was also 4 5-gallon white buckets, a green plastic barrel, a gallon of bleach, a brush, a knife, and a bush hook. The brush and bush hook were stained with what appeared to be blood.
Ooh, a bush hook. That gives an awful image of like him hanging from a bush hook while they like cut him up. I mean, I don't know what a bush hook is, to be honest, but I figure it's like that. Like maybe they, like a meat slab at the butcher.
Oh, yeah, like a meat hook. Oh, I normally look up what utensils I don't know. And for some reason, I actually didn't look up what a bush hook was. I just was like, that sounds terrible, and moved on.
Yeah.
To be honest. But it doesn't sound good, right?
No. Gives a nasty visual of something extremely horrifying that happened.
Yeah. So obviously at that crime scene, a brutal murder and dismemberment happened. And after the investigation kind of had taken place and was still ongoing, actually, Brooke was taken to the police station where she gave both a written and verbal statement. While waiting in the interview room, she overheard detectives talking about the crime and learned for the first time that Jeffrey had been dismembered and dumped in the bayou to be eaten by gators. Because remember, again, she's in a box, had no idea what had actually happened to him.
Yeah, she just
after
knew
the shot.
She heard gunshots.
Mm-hmm. And as heartbreaking as it was, she agreed to identify the body, mostly his head. So Jeffrey's family just wouldn't have to live with that horrific memory, and that being like the last thing they see
of their son.
Yeah. When detectives began gathering more evidence, they learned Gary was a butcher at the local grocery store.
Well, no shit.
Makes sense why those cuts were so freaking clean, right? When they spoke with one of Gary's co-workers, his name was Charles, he said Gary had recently sharpened all his knives, wrapped them up in paper, and then took them home a couple days before the murder. And this really stood out to Charles. Most people only took their knives home if they were quitting or going on a long vacation. And so Charles asked Gary why was he taking them? And very casually, Gary replied, I might have to skin something later, and left.
Ugh.
I mean, I don't know. Is that a common thing that people just have to skin something later? No, it's not, unless you're a hunter.
But what's great about Charles's account here is that it kind of shows premeditation.
That it does.
Which I think just for the case and going forward, that's a great testimony to have.
Yeah, for sure it is. Now, they also spoke to Gary's neighbor, Rita Taylor, who said that around 3 to 4 a.m. on August 13th, she was up really late cleaning, and she went outside to put something in her car. But when she was out there, she noticed Gary and another man carrying white buckets towards the bayou. She thought it was odd, and not just because of the time, but because the day before, Gary had asked Rita's husband if he could borrow their John boat. And at that point, detectives were convinced Gary and Timothy had planned to kill Jeffrey when he came to collect money. But at that point, the big question was, where were they? Because we know Gary took off in his car, right?
In a hurry.
Yeah. Well, it turns out they did not have to wait long. Gary ended up calling the police and turning himself in. Shocking, right? I didn't expect that.
No.
Now, after he noticed that Brooke had gotten away, he actually fled to Mobile, Alabama. And while there, he had gotten to a shopping mall, found a photo studio with one of those classic 90s picture backdrops, like of the kind of cloudy, bluey, gray,
Yes.
you know?
I know exactly. Funny enough, as soon as you said that, that was exactly what I saw.
Yeah.
Every school picture I ever had in the
Just
90s,
like it.
I was like, yep.
Yeah. So he found one of those backdrops, and he actually recorded a video message for his family. And in it, he said, "I guess it's a real mess, isn't it? It wasn't supposed to go like that. I don't know what to tell you. To my way of thinking, I didn't have much of a choice. I mean, I had already taken his money." So I find that statement pretty interesting because he's basically saying, like, I took his money. I knew what I had to do, but I don't know how it got to this point. But you're like, you do know.
I mean, you planned to kill him to protect yourself. But I also feel like it is very interesting, his logic, to be like, I didn't have much of a choice. It's like, yes, you do. You always have a choice whether to kill someone or not. You might feel helpless, but like, how is killing someone your first choice?
Yeah.
Like, that's wild. Like, get rid of them.
This will solve all our problems.
Right?
And
like,
I will not go to jail. Honestly, that whole thought process, like, you know, it's like when someone hits someone with a car and then they run them over again or they drive away. It's like you had every opportunity to maybe save that person's life. Or in a lot of these crimes, people like do that where it's like, well, you know, that's the choice they make. You know, like they stole something like this guy and then they choose to kill him. Right? But it's like, why is that the better option?
yeah.
I don't get it. I just don't get that way of thinking.
No, I don't understand it
Yeah.
either.
Yeah.
Shuck the buck, Becky.
Shuck the buck. So after Gary made this video, he then went to see his friend Dennis Guess. Now, according to Dennis, Gary straight up told him he had whacked a drug dealer, deboned him, cut him into little pieces, and put him in the bayou. Gary also told Dennis he used a butcher knife and bolt cutters, which tracks with what they found at the crime scene. He then told him that he even had a girl in a box and had planned to train her and keep her around as a sex toy. But she got away. After talking for a while, Dennis convinced Gary that turning himself in was the right thing to do, which is great that Dennis stepped in that moment, Bev, because Gary's alternative was suicide. So Dennis convinced him otherwise, which is great. And that's when Gary called the police.
Yeah, for all of our like justice fighters out there, I feel like this is great.
Yeah.
And kudos to Dennis, because initially when you were telling me everything that Gary had told him, I was like, why didn't Dennis call the cops on Gary? Like, that's what I was thinking. But it turns out he didn't have to because he convinced Gary to do it on himself, which is perfect.
It's even better because you don't have to like feel like you're betraying a friend, but doing the right thing.
Yeah, you're just doing the right thing.
Exactly.
Convincing your friend to own up to their mistakes. No more shucking the buck, Gary.
No more.
Take
No
responsibility for your actions.
Exactly. So soon after that, Timothy was arrested as well, and both men were charged with capital murder and kidnapping. Gary was also charged with rape and robbery. Now, one thing is that we haven't talked about is why was he charged with robbery, Bev? I'll just tell you, I'll save you from that. Apparently, Jeffrey had $1,200 on him and Brooke had $200.
Oh, he took their money.
He just took it, yeah.
I was thinking, are they really gonna like charge him for robbery of drug money? Like,
What?
What?
No,
How
he
does that
straight
go?
up just took the cash they had on him.
Fair.
So their trials didn't begin until August the following year. In the meantime, Pascal Wolfe admitted it was one of the hardest years of his life. You know, he lost his all-American son, and he turned to heavy drinking to cope. He was angry. Angry he had to bury his son so soon. And a couple months before the murder, Jeffrey had asked his dad if he could help a friend who was homeless and needed a place to stay. Without hesitation, Pascal said yes, like anything for a friend of Jeffrey. And that friend, Bev? Timothy.
Holy crap.
So not only was Pascal sad that he lost his son, but he felt completely betrayed to someone who he personally helped.
No kidding. That would be so much more difficult. It's like, you also know my son was a good friend to you, helped you in your time of need, and you turn around and
steal his money?
Life?
Or drugs.
Well, yeah. I mean, all of it.
Yeah.
Stole his money, his drug money, which I mean, you know, that's one thing. But like took his life and took him from me. Like,
yeah.
That's messed up.
Yeah. It's like a lot of salt and hot sauce in a wound right there.
Right. So Pascal is irate.
Oh, yeah. He was seeing red. He was so angry, and he actually wanted to kill Gary and Timothy. But when the trial began, Pascal brought a gun to the courthouse intending to kill them. But when he learned they would be tried separately, he decided not to follow through with that plan. Because if he killed one, he would go to jail, and the other, like, what was the point, basically? Just killing one of them, right? And so he chose just to attend the hearings instead. In the trial, Brooke was the star
witness.
Thank you. Witness. But she was really scared to testify against Gary specifically because he
raped her.
Well, he raped her, and he had been sending her death threats from prison.
What the fudge?
Right? Like, trying to get her not to testify. Like, she had all the answers, right? Like, he didn't want her to testify, so he was. And she was scared. But she thought if Jeffrey's family could sit through this trial, so could she. She was determined to stay strong for them, and her testimony was obviously damning. On top of that, Gary's co-worker, Charles, and neighbor Rita also testified about what they saw. And on August 29th, 1997, Gary was found guilty of robbery and kidnapping and sentenced to life for those two crimes. He was also found guilty of the murder of Jeffrey Wolfe and sentenced to death by lethal injection. Now, Timothy was found guilty and sentenced to life without parole for the murder of Jeffrey, plus an additional 30 years for kidnapping, and they were to be served consecutively. Both men appealed their convictions, but all their attempts were denied, and they remained in prison. After the trials, Brooke was still pretty fearful of Gary, and she eventually moved, changed her name, but that fear ended on June 20th, 2012, when Gary was executed by lethal injection. Before this procedure, he said, "I've been blessed to be loved by some good people, by some amazing people. I thank them for their support. Now let's get it on so these people can go home. That's it." So it was kind of like he never apologized, which is the worst part, Bev. Like, even in his final moments, he was just like, thanks to people who loved me. Not sorry for anything I did. You know, like, he never showed remorse. He never apologized to the family. Absolutely nothing.
Well, it doesn't surprise me because he kind of is like the worst ever.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like he did every bad thing you could do. Like all of the felonies, like all of the crappiest parts of humanity. Like he managed to like do them all in one night.
Yeah, like I swear he had a checklist of bad things and just one after another. Do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's messed up.
Yeah. So I thought I would add this to our podcast, but I thought it was ridiculous, and I don't think it was. I'll speak on this after. So for Gary's last meal, he ordered a whopping 29,000 calorie spread. It was burgers, fries, milkshakes, and just so much more. He got double of things, like 2 strawberry milkshakes, 2 burgers, extra sets of fries. Like,
he went all out.
He's like, if I'm going to die, I'm going to eat everything I damn well want. Which, to be honest, like, I kind of get the whole last meal thing. But also I'm like, this guy did something horrible. He's on death row for a damn reason. Why would you give someone, like, everything they wanted in their last meal?
Yeah.
Like, to me, it's just, like, it's not right. I kind of get it, but, like, it's, like, the last joy they could possibly have, and you're just going to be like, yeah, here's 29,000 calories.
Here's a massive dopamine rush.
Yeah, and go have fun at your lethal injection. Like, what? It's unreal for me.
I guess there's, like, I guess it's, like, the state or the country or whatever are literally killing another human being. Like, the exact thing that that person is losing their life for. Like, you know what I mean? There's a lot of controversy on, like,
yeah, for sure.
lethal injection, period.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, okay, well, if we're going to literally also take your life and make that decision as a government entity, we'll, you know, try and give you a little bit of something before
One last good
meal to kind of like justify that we're also taking your life, even though that's what you're in prison for, you know?
Yeah, like make
So, like,
that okay with one meal.
Like, I kind of understand it. Die with dignity. On the other hand,
Sure.
let's think about this. How many people have died from lethal injection that have been completely innocent? Thank God those people get a last meal.
Okay, 100%, like, wrongfully convicted people who get their final last meal, I hope they all had 29,000 calorie meals.
Yeah, and enjoy the crap out of it. But, like, I get what you're saying. This guy didn't deserve fucking anything. So you're like, God damn, that sucks.
Yeah, he got everything he wanted. I don't know, maybe I'm putting a too high value on, like,
A
the
burger and
enjoyment
fries.
of food. But, like, we've all done a happy food dance. Like, come on.
Yeah, you're
So-
just kind of like, this just seems lame.
Like, ironic almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. When Gary died, Pascal Wolfe was in the room watching Gary take his last breath, and he was quoted as saying, "You are going to burn in hell. When you take your last breath, I'll be going to have a cold beer." So, obviously, Pascal was
Still pissed.
still pissed, and I mean, who wouldn't be, but kind of rubbed it in, like, I'll be having a beer when you die because you did something so terrible. I'm celebrating.
Well, I mean, good for him.
Yeah.
I have to say. Like, he literally, as we said, did the worst possible thing to his son.
No, for sure.
And, yeah. Wow. Becky, that case was messed up. And your buzzwords at the beginning did not disappoint. I mean, they did paint a picture. I will tell you.
Yeah.
I wasn't, like, super surprised. But as soon as we, like, went through the podcast, it was like, all I was thinking, there's the first word. There's Mississippi. There's the Bayou. Oh.
Whoop.
You know, I'm just like
There it
going through
is.
it. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. There's the alligator buzzword. Woo.
I know. You're welcome.
So-
Maybe I'll have to do that more often. Anyways.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, just thinking of the whole scenario, I mean, it was 15 to 20 grand of like marijuana drug money. Like, no one deserves to lose their life in that horrific of a nature over that. Like, that was just so messed up to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And Brooke is such an innocent victim in all of this as well.
Yeah.
And I'm just thankful that Timothy had a slight ounce of more morality than Gary in that moment, because
Just a smidge.
like, I just, you know, I didn't want her
To go through that
to
again.
go through that again.
No, for sure.
But
For sure. And
yeah.
you know what? I hope that after all this, that like her able to help this case get solved like really quickly, and she was able to like get herself out of major trouble, you know, because it could have been so much worse if she hadn't gotten out.
Right. We knew the plans that Gary had for her.
Yeah, like I just hope that she was able to live, or she is able to live as full of a life that she could possibly have, and that her mental health is okay, because living through that type of trauma, like, you never know where that's going to take you. So I hope that she is having as good of a life as she possibly can, because she sure as hell deserves it.
And I hope Pascal enjoyed that cold beer.
Fucking rights.
And
I
rest
hope.
in peace to
Jeffrey
Jeffrey
Wolfe.
Wolfe.
That's right. All right, Bev. I know this was heavy, so thanks for listening.
Thanks for sharing, Becky. And just your weekly reminder to download our weekly episodes, follow us on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever streaming platform you listen to us on, and give us a follow on our social medias. You can find us at Luminol on the Wall. Can't wait till next week.